2 Dharma talks per day. So it's light duty for him, I guess. So Xianhui, does he have one more, or this is the last of the series? We have 3 more. Oh my God, better hurry then, we have so much to learn.
Well, the first 5 were Hung Jing, Hung Xin, Hung Shou. Those are 3 men. And then Hung Yin and Hung Church. And they all still live around. I think, David's up here somewhere. Hung Shou's still in contact with him. And who else? Hung Jing's not around anymore. There's and then Hung Yin's living in Ukiah, Hung Yin, Hung Lani. She's a lawyer in Ukiah. Very smart people. Hung Yin, for instance, had a didactic memory. She got the Sarangama mantra down with very quickly. Not as fast as Shifu did, but pretty quickly. Shifu was always, I noticed that the dynamic between Shifu and her was very interesting to watch when I was there. He was always challenging her. He was always, intellectually challenging her. Shifu? Shifu would always, Hung Yin very intelligent, like most of the people there, but he would always, he would intellectually challenge her. He'd ask her a question and see if she can catch the answer right, that kind of thing. He would just they'd be lecturing, and out of the blue, he'd say, he'd just call her up and say, okay, he just, because I'd be in Gold Mountain, he goes, okay, what's going on? And then she'd be right back at it, because she's very smart. And she'd go, and he'd just enjoy that. He would get her to do that back and forth so she could wake up. Hung Yin introduced me to Shifu, because I was dating a girl who was her friend. They were UW, what do you call it, dorm mates. And she would write to Beth, that was who I was dating, and Beth would read me the letters of when she left home and what Shifu was like. And I said, I really got to meet this person's son. He's really enlightened. He's not one of these showboaters. This is the real thing. So we met in front of Waverly Place. Beth wrote her and said I wanted to meet Dad, and she said, okay, sure. So we met in front of Waverly Place, and Waverly Place is this rickety very old Taoist temple. It's like 3 stories up in Chinatown. Very old, classic Chinese style thing. I don't know how old the thing is. But it used to be a Taoist temple, and then they were leasing it as a Buddhist temple. And so we started going up these rickety old stairs, because that's how you got up there. They were like really narrow, like this narrow little stairs that go up. And we were about halfway up the first flight, and she goes, and by the way, you should really want to become a Buddha if you want to meet the master. I said, what? What are you talking about? I don't even know what that means.
Was she a nun already?
Yeah, well, she was a novice. She was a Chamonix.
That was called Gold Mountain at the time, right?
No, it was called Buddhist Lecture Hall.
Okay.
That was before Gold Mountain.
Okay.
That was in Chinatown. On Waverly Place. This is 1969. So, Hung Yin, she was, in those days, she was very thin. She looked like a little bird. She was very thin, very skinny. She goes up there, you get up there, and then there's Shifu. And he had a sitting cloth in his hand, and he was showing everybody the first 5, Hung Shou and Hung Jing and all those guys, and Hung Chur and Hung Yin. He's showing them how to fold a sitting cloth properly. That was how I met Shifu. He was in the middle of showing them how to do a sitting cloth. And Hung Yin walked up to Shifu and spoke perfect Mandarin. I never heard anybody do that before, an American. I mean, it's just beautifully. And she would, well, Shifu, blah, 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 and she started talking in Mandarin beautifully to Shifu. Then Shifu looked at me and goes, "Oh, so you finally got here." That's what he said.
Did you say you finally got here, right?
He says, "Oh, so you finally got here."
So,
Yeah.
oh, that's how you say.
No, actually, my name is because I kept running away. And then I come back. So first he called me "go away."
Oh.
And later, when I left home, he called me "hung lai," "way lai the lai."
Oh.
Constantly returning. Because I'm constantly running away. Yeah.
When did you meet this fine gentleman here?
That was years ago, back in Wampachang. Paul came after we'd already bought Wampachang.
The first Amitabha session at YongHua is when I came. Nobody was at Gold Mountain, only YongHua.
Huh? Yeah.
And Super came back.
So Paul can tell some really good stories about the refugee program we had, because he was in charge of it. Sure, we put him in charge of it. So it was quite. He can tell you some really good stories about that someday. I'm sure, because it was quite an adventure. We had all the refugees in the hospital.
My pastor so Paul K. 跟我们讲就是 the Vietnamese refugees.
Vietnamese.
Yeah,
It was the boat people. Remember the year? I don't know if you remember, but there was a time when people were escaping Vietnam in the 70s by boat. You know, they have horrific experiences getting out of there. So Shifu said, we'll dedicate the hospital to take care of them, and we'll get in the program with the government so we can resettle people as they come in.
You give the program to the government?
It's a program the government had for resettlement. So that, and ours, we were very careful with. A lot of these outfits in the city in San Francisco and stuff just wanted to make money from the government, so they get refugees in and they just put them out in the street, collect the check. But we did it properly, and Paul was integral to that. And it was teaching them how to get integrated into this society, because a lot of them were coming from little villages, Laos or someplace. They didn't even have toilets. They didn't, they didn't have to do anything. They didn't, they come right out of Vietnam and Laos and places like that, and they just could barely get by, and they had to be taught how to get a job and do all these other things, how to get an apartment and how to live in the West. It's a big traumatic thing for them culturally. But a lot of them were Buddhists, so that helped a lot, because there was a Buddha hall right there. They can go do ceremonies. The government, and Doug Powers worked with, he did a lot of the political stuff. He had to go to Washington all the time. And but the government liked the way we were doing it, because we didn't resettle people we didn't put them in California, mostly into Texas. So I remember.
They went out all over the country, but some came to Seattle.
Some stayed with us. Stayed in Wampachang. I don't remember, what years were those? I don't remember the years.
78, I started in 80, and I ended there. So Cook was there too.
85 is when the whole program came.
So from 78 to 85?
从1978年到1985年。
I have documents in the picture.
Yeah. Okay. Everybody can take a break now.
大家可以休息。
All right, I hope you learned something. Any questions? I have this quirk. If you don't speak clearly, I can't hear you, I ignore you. Because I refuse to strain to listen to you, to anyone, as a matter of fact. I couldn't understand what he's talking about. I lose about 4 or 5 words per sentence. So I looked instead of listened. Did anyone get anything or have any questions about this part or what he talked about? They seem to reminisce about something, old people. Okay, and so that's all I got out of it. One thing that I also got out of this is that very American. You know, I don't think he understands Chinese that much. Okay, meaning that if you learn the Dharma, and the Dharma is spoken by your teacher in Chinese, and you need to depend on someone to translate it for you into English, you're in trouble. Okay, because a lot is lost in the translation, as we all know. Number 2, I finally realized that recently that we need to, in my generation, we need to act as a bridge between the Chinese, okay, a Chinese teacher, Chinese culture, Chinese customs, and the Western culture, Western language. Otherwise, you miss either on the source side or the destination side. Okay, so for a while, we need to act like bridges to go from the Chinese to our Western culture or modern times, because my master is very, very Chinese, I feel. At least the way he explains it is very Chinese to me. So that's why I encourage you to learn Chinese. As a matter of fact, after this COVID thing here, we survive if we don't don't have to fold, like many churches will have to fold. Many temples will have to fold because they can't make it. But if we make it and we survive, then we should have Chinese classes where I would like left-home people to learn how to pronounce Chinese properly. Okay, at least that's a minimum. And so that's a starting point for you professionals, especially those of you who would like to bring this wonderful Chinese wisdom from an enlightened Chinese sage to our times, to our cultures. Then you really have to learn Chinese. Okay, and then of course you also have to become enlightened through meditation. It's a small thing. So, all right, and these people are too sheltered. Okay, one more comment. I look at this posture and the way he presents himself in a video. It's too familiar. Okay, teaching is a very, very serious matter because by teaching you help people increase their samadhi. That's our purpose. We teach, we speak Dharma in order to help you increase your samadhi, okay, and open your wisdom, unfold your wisdom. That's why we're doing this. Otherwise, it would be a waste of time, at least to me. Okay, so it is a very serious matter. So we take it seriously, and especially when you're in a video, we are being recorded on video. It's going to be like that for ages. Okay, so whatever you say will be stored, will be heard for many, many years. And so you can't afford to be so, the way in the last, the last minutes that we listened to is too casual. You know, they notice the scarf. Notice the, it bothers me, annoys me, the cable, the wire for the microphone. Jeez. Good Lord. It's a visual distraction, don't you think? You look at it, it's like, oh, what is that? Like my first reaction, oh, it is a microphone wire, okay? So it causes people to be distracted, okay? Because they strike up thoughts about things they don't have to. So you folks, when you speak Dharma, please tuck the microphone wire inside so that it's not supposed to draw attention. Little details like that. It shows how careful you are about your trade, about your mission, about your work. Okay, and the one thing that it's too casual for me to have a scarf like that, you know, that doesn't belong there, where it's a fashion statement or something. Okay, it's supposed to serve a purpose, not become a fashion statement. Our fashion is this right there. Okay, one robe. Okay, one sash. That's it. That's all you're supposed to see. Okay, and my master, when in his final years, final months, he wrapped a scarf around his neck. Okay, so that's his fashion statement, because out of necessity, he needed to protect his neck. Okay, and so that's a fashion statement. But you know, now I notice monks have beautiful scarves going down here, very adorned, you know, like a Japanese style. You see the Japanese, how they do that. Okay, a very expensive scarf. Look at that. Oof, that's hundreds of dollars scarves. You know, it's reminding more of a church than a Buddhist temple. Okay, so our teacher, my teacher, gave him this dress code where you have a, excuse me, but I'm very judgmental, and you can identify with that, I'm sure. You sickos, bipolar people, manic people in particular. This robe here is very cheap. Yuck. Okay, the fabric is very, very cheap. It doesn't last. Okay, and I saw them up close. That's why I could tell. And so everything is very cheap, and that's my master. Okay, very, very frugal. Okay, I'm not advocating that. Okay, and there's a time to save money, and I know his disciple back there is judging me. He said, this monk here is dares contradict her teacher. My teacher taught us about being frugal, not wasting our blessings in order to save them. He's teaching to save your blessings. Don't waste them. Okay, that's fine. That's for beginners, for Hinayana-oriented people. What I'm teaching you is look at the big picture. Yes, naturally, no one wants to waste. I don't need to remind you. I only remind you occasionally. Okay? But I know all of you are smart. That's why you survived so far for so many years. You're totally mentally, retarded. You can't last. Okay? We're too demanding. I know. I'm not making fun of mentally retarded people, by the way. I'm just saying that our environment is very demanding because people are very sharp. So I'm not worried about you wasting, because I know you don't waste anyway by your own nature. Okay? You're too smart to waste. Okay? Money, waste whatever, waste paper, whatever. But they go, and my teacher went to the extreme by, I'm told at his time that in his pocket, he would have like bundles and bundles of old paper napkins that he never asked for a new one. Every time they give him a new one, he used it and put it in his pocket. And I said, God, that's very unsanitary, especially in COVID-19 era. Okay, because if I take something out of, an old napkin out of my pocket and start wiping my mouth, if all of you do that, we could have some problems with the health department. Okay, so I'm worried about it. So my master goes to the extremes and says, all these people are so frugal. Okay, and that's fine. That's fine for them. Okay, we don't have that problem. Okay, because we have enough trees to waste. Okay, but my point being that it's too extremes to me. It causes problems. Okay, there should be moderation somewhere where you need to look at the big picture. You cannot simply say, "I'm saving money only." Okay. I don't want to waste water. I don't want to waste electricity. I'm told, by the way, that if you we have ceremonies every day. So I'm told in the evening when it's dark, one of my students turned off all the lights except for the podium lights. So the people who are down there who are trying to read, they cannot read. That's extreme to me. That's very Hinayana. Okay. To me, saving is only one side. That's very Hinayana. You don't have to worry about that. Instead, you look at the big picture. If my disciples cannot read, the eyesight is gonna worsen. Who's gonna have to pay for the eye doctor and the eyeglasses? Okay, you save 5 pennies, and I end up paying $600 per year, every 2 years at least, for eyeglasses. How much can you save by turning off the electricity? Okay, and you multiply not one person, but let's say in the future we have about, let's say this we can easily accommodate 50 people. 50 times 500. That's a lot of money. And you save only a few pennies during the ceremonies. You have to look at the big picture. You cannot simply look at, at cost alone. Okay? So that's why in a business school, we learn a concept, not cost, but we look at opportunity costs. That's the eyeglasses. Yes, you save some money with electricity, but you pay your opportunity cost is that now you have to pay for other things. Okay, so there should be the big picture. You cannot simply save money and economize. It's not enough. Okay, so anyway, so it's in the same vein. You can't if you want to as these people are supposed to do, propagate their Mahayana, their Buddha Dharma, the image is very important. My master gave them the image of frugality. That's fine. Okay? But even if you're frugal, you need to be tidy. Yes? This is sloppy. Look at this. You know? Are you paying attention, you monks and nuns? Okay? You see how I sit? Do I sit like that? Because, to me, couture is important. That's my bias, okay? I don't care what you think, but I feel that clothing makes the monk. Okay? And therefore, for the people who first met you, who tune in for the first time in your video, look at this guy. Look at the way they're dressed. Sloppy. You see that? It's the wrong image for Chan. You can turn on the fan, by the way. Okay, I know it's hot, so anyway, you see, so the image is very important. You may be poor, that's fine. You may be cheap, okay? But be tidy, okay? The Chinese monks, even the Chinese monks, they're not tidy. You need, you cannot have the clothes spread all over as you sit down like this. You only see the photo here. You're not seeing that. You look at the big picture, you see that his sash are flowing, on the side and stuff like that. And probably the rope here, the yellow rope, is probably down in front instead of being tucked in. Okay? So be tidy, be orderly, be neat. That's important. That's the image. That's a Chan image as well. Okay? And not so much to the Chinese, because the Chinese are used to this. We're not Chinese, are we? All due respect to the Chinese people, we're not in China. Okay? All right. Any questions? Hey, baby girl. We have 3 generations here. It's always so cool. All right. Shall we go to the next one? All right. Do you have enough? Let's listen to them for fun anyway.
Today is our second day.
And posture.
Investigating Chan.
Sit your back straight.
It's reading about a story Shifu told us.
Don't
when
slouch.
he was young, he was called Filio Sung Bai, because his family name was Bai. And he took a vow to stay at his mother's grave for 3 years and cultivate.
What I learned, I never listened to my master, my Chinese teacher teach Chan, ever. Okay, so I was always curious. So one day, I finally, after 20 years or 15 years of learning and practicing his Dharma in the dark, I finally saw a video of him speaking Dharma, And I said, wow, that's what you're supposed to do? Because until then, I was always just moving around, hey. And I saw him sitting there and hardly moving at all. And the facial expression says it all, the kindness, the compassion. But he didn't move at all, okay? And the body is never slouching, okay? See, when the Buddha is alive, his disciples learn from him by watching him, his demeanor, his comportment, okay? So That's why when I saw that my master video for the first time, after I started teaching, I said, wow, I should stop moving so much. I should, pretend to be so like a statue, like a bell. Okay? They do it for a purpose. It helps. You know why? Because if you move this much, this movement here has thoughts behind it. You see this? I need to move here, I need to move there. The movement is not without reason. The movement needs a cause. If I move my head over here, meaning what? I have to think, let's move over here. Thought arises, let's move over here, right? Let's turn this way. That's anti-Chan. Remember, Chan, we don't think. We sit long enough so that the longer we sit, the less we think. That happens naturally, regardless of who you are, whatever you do. Just sit longer, you think less, naturally. Your thoughts will die down. And then after sitting, you watch a guy speaking Dharma, he's going to go like this. So what he's doing, he's encouraging you to think again. You see that? And if you think again, you will not be able to enter Samadhi. When I speak Dharma to you, my goal, by the way, this is secret, shh, don't tell anyone. My goal is when I speak Dharma to you, is to help you enter Samadhi right then as you listen. Didn't know that, did you? So if I speak Dharma and go like this constantly, what am I encouraging you to do? Not concentrate and think like hell. It defeats the purpose of Chan talk. So don't do that.
今天是我们的禅修第二天，我在看师父的那个传记里边讲到，
This is so American.
师父姓白，讲到他在他母亲墓前那个守墓。
So he told us about this.
It's because the people who listen to him are such low levels. Because when I talked to him years ago, he was like this. Okay? Yeah.
Your fellow cultivator in the same time period.
There's no excuse for this. When you're being recorded, there are other people who will listen to you as well. So you cannot afford to be.
Before he became a cultivator, he was
like
a bandit. He used to steal from people. And one day he got caught and he got a pretty severe beating. And he was quite sick from it.
What are you doing?
看到了其中有一段就是在师父修行的同一个时期的另外一个在同样一个地区的一个修行者，我听不清楚叫什么名字。这个人叫圣友，这个人呢，他偷盗，没修行之前他偷盗，而且的话，有一次被人抓到以后，把他打了一顿。
So this former bandit, really suffered for several weeks, and the results of his beating were not getting healed. So he made a vow that if he can get better within 1 or 2 weeks, he'll for sure turn over a new leaf, change his ways. And he's going to make a vow to go sit at his parents' grave and cultivate and become a cultivator.
他被打了一顿以后呢，就没有好，一直没有好，而且的话非常痛苦。这个时候呢，他就发了一个愿，就说如果他好了，他就一定到他的母亲那个墓上去守墓，重新做人。
So within a week, he was fully recovered. So he said, I've got to make good on my vow. So he went to Dharma Master ZongYi, who was a very renowned Dharma Master at that time. He was supreme in the precepts, and he had spiritual penetrations, and asked him, filial son Yo, his name was Yo, he asked him if he could become his disciple, and that he wanted to cultivate filial respect. And Dharma Master ZongYi granted his request and gave him the name of filial son Yo.
我有点名字听不太清楚，就是说这个人，结果果然1个星期以后就满了他的愿，他的病就好了。好了以后呢，他就跑到那个庙里，那个一个和尚那儿去，就是说求皈依，然后这个和尚也就接受了他，然后皈依以后，他的名字叫什么友啊？
So he started cultivating, and in a short period of time, he started getting karmic obstructions by a dragon who had wrapped himself around his waist and burned him, caused him great discomfort. So Dharma Master ZongYi saw what was happening and transformed the dragon. He converted the dragon to become his Dharma protector instead of afflicting him. So he crossed over the dragon and said, you now can be his Dharma protector. So the dragon became filial son Yo's Dharma protector. There was a dragon, and he wrapped himself around filial son Yo's waist and caused him a lot of trouble.
这时候有一条龙的话一下就跑到这个刚刚皈依的这个圣友这个身上，一下就盘在他的腰上，盘在他腰上以后呢，就 cause 了很多 trouble。这个时候他的师父的话就出面以后的话，就降服了这条龙。本身这个龙是跟着他师父的，后来他降服了这条龙以后呢，就变成就是这个圣友的那个护法。
So filial son Yo continued to cultivate for a long period of time, but during that time period, there were these heavy storms. Rain came in that area and flooded many crop fields. So people were suffering quite a bit because they couldn't grow anything, and the rains wouldn't stop. So filial son Yo said, "Okay, I make a vow that if the heavens will stop raining and let the crops grow, I will offer up some of my flesh to the heavens."
然后呢，他在修行的过程中，这个时候呢，就发生了一件事情，就是他周围的话都发生那个天灾，就是干旱，水旱，发生水旱、水灾，到处都那个洪水覆盖了那个庄稼。这个时候他就发了一个愿，就说如果能够下雨停止下来的话，他将用他的肉供天，他身上的就是自己的肉去祭天。
So after a short period of time, the rain stopped and the clouds cleared out and there was sun everywhere. So he fulfilled his vow. He cut off a piece of his flesh, and the Shifu never told us what part. He just said he did, and offered it up to the heavenly gods, I guess. And so everybody in the village heard about this, and they flocked to this Dharma Master filial son Yo's hut, his maopang, and bowed to him.
这个时候他发完愿以后呢，很快这个雨就停止下了。停止下雨以后呢，这个时候他真的就割下他身上的一块肉去祭天。但是呢，来法师说师父没有告诉他们，就是说他用身上的哪一块割下来的。然后这个时候他的茅棚的话就名声大噪 周围很多人就跑来，就是向他礼拜，就是向他叩头。
Shifu said that during this time he was a teenager and he himself was sitting at his mother's grave doing filial cultivation. And one day the two of them met, and Dharma Master Filial Son Yo was in his 20s and Shifu was he was a teenager. So they met each other on the road or something. They just passed and they saw each other. And as Shifu described it, he says, we just looked at each other for a very long time.
有一天呢，那个时候师父还是一个少年 ，teenager 少年，这个圣友呢20岁，他们有一天呢不期而遇，遇到的时候的话，他们彼此互相就是说，互相对看了很长时间。
So finally, Filial Son Yo looked at him and goes, "Who are you?" And Shifu goes, "Well, you should know who you are, but I don't know who I am."
然后最后这个圣友开口了，这打了一下机锋哈。圣友就说：“你是谁？”师父说：“你知不知道你是谁？我不知道我是谁。”
That's a very Chan answer.
这是一个非常的禅宗的这种回答，就是他们彼此打的是机锋。
Because they had both attained a certain degree of enlightenment, and they could see that in each other.
They weren't enlightened.
因为他们彼此都在一定的程度上开了悟的，所以他们可以互相看到对方。
And finally, Shifu said to him, "Where are you going?" And Filial Son Yo says, "I'm not going anywhere."
然后的话，师父就问了他一句：“你去哪儿？”然后僧友就说：“我哪里也不去。”
And as Shifu explained it, he says one of the 10 names of the Buddha is Tathagata, which means thus come one. And which means in the Vajra Sutra they talk about thus come one neither comes nor does he go.
师父后来解释说，就说如来的话是就说十方如来最后归一，所以说的话，这个在这个经典里边，最后也是谈到这个，就是说万法归一。
Yet he comes and he goes constantly.
来去常住。
So he was basically expressing the inconceivable state of cultivation and samadhi of Chan, and they two, Filial Son Yo and our teacher Filial Son Bai, who were both very young at the time, were able to recognize this in each other, even without knowing it initially. They didn't. They just met by chance. They just met on the road and immediately recognized each other.
就是说，他们因为他们都是在一定程度上是开悟的，所以说他们不期而遇的时候的话，他们都能够看到照见那个彼此深刻的那个证悟到这个，就是说如来是不去不来的这么一个真理。
So that's the nature of Chan, and if one reads about Chan a lot, there are many, many books and many, many stories of these kind of interactions between two people who are awakened, and it's very good reading.
这就是那个禅宗里边的很多的这个公案，就是讲了这个，就是说两个开悟的人，他们的一些就是说彼此之间的那种 深刻的那种对话。这些书籍的话，记载了很多这种就是说修炼人，就修有成就的这些修炼人他们的故事。
So in our second day of Chan today, we can investigate the wonderful Dharma of sitting and attaining, and investigating the Dharma of our true natures. So it's best to sit up straight. They say sit like a bell. So sit like a solid bell when we sit. And when we walk, you want to walk like a breeze. And so it's like a light breeze. And when we run, during that short run, we can run like the wind.
我们今天是禅修的第2天，我们应该就是说做的时候，就是说我们继续体会这种就是说不可思议的这种禅定的话，我们做的时候应该就是像弓一样，bow，yeah，然后行走快的时候就像风一样。
Now, in the past, at Gold Mountain Monastery in San Francisco, it was a 3-story. It used to be a mattress factory. We converted it to a temple.
Okay. Any questions, comments? The black microphone wire bothers me. You see this? It doesn't bother you at all? I look at this and said, who did this? I would like to fire that person. This is a safety issue, first of all. The kids could hang themselves and strangle themselves on this wire. Plus, you have a wire like this, if you inadvertently pull on this, you can damage the connector right here. You don't have to pay for these things, I have to, so I know. I pay attention to these small details. Okay, you see this? You cannot pull on this. You can pull all you want, it's not going to damage my connector. See this? So it dawned on me, it's interesting to listen to this Dharma master, this Chan master speak. And he recounted how the Chinese keep on telling themselves about the stories about Master Shenhua was younger and the dragons and stuff like that. To me, as a Westerner, I used to be impressed. Now I get older and said, so what? So Chinese. Okay. If we Westerners listen to these dragon stories, we say, my God, tell it to the Chinese. For us, we don't know who dragons are. And you ask me, if you let a dragon wrap around your body, why would you let it happen? If you're like that, I don't want to know what you do after, okay? A dragon have no business coming near you, let alone wrap around your body and then create discomfort. So we're supposed to be impressed by that? Too Chinese, okay? I'm not impressed. And then the guy, that filial Sun Yo, whatever his name is, he helped people by offering his flesh. Can you see the problems we have to try to explain to our followers? Your teacher cut a flesh out of his own flesh. Now we have infection issues. We have self-immolation issues. Okay, you name it. We have so many problems. Okay, So clearly for us Westerners, I have a problem with that right away. I said, this is too barbaric. Okay, you see any holes on my head? I refused to let them burn incense things on my head. Okay? Too barbaric. Why would you want to inflict pain on yourself? Because others do that as an offering to the Buddha and Bodhisattvas. I said, oh my God, can I do something else less drastic? You know? Too extreme to me. Okay. And then so he offers his flesh. Fine. If you are so dedicated, I can respect that. But if you ever do that, if any of you ever do that, my disciples ever do that, and if a second person even hears about that, I will slap you on the face. You do it, then no one's supposed to know. Agree or disagree? Let alone the villagers know about that. 2 Chinese. I think they do it as a publicity stunt. Okay, when you help people, you're supposed to help and no one's supposed to know. You realize that? Because you help people and people know, it's called selling yourself. Okay? So I'm not impressed. I'm sorry. I'm not impressed by the Chinese custom of cutting their flesh and offering so that the village knows about it. Forget it. I will never cut my flesh. I'm stupid enough to do that. I would never tell anyone because I'd be so embarrassed. I would cut myself in order to help people. Don't you have any skills to help people without harming yourself? Okay? So, 2 Chinese. These stories are 2 Chinese for me. But finally, there's one thing that I liked. When he mentioned, you walk like a breeze, you run like a wind, I said, finally, it dawned on me why. Because it's been bothering me why these Chinese people walk like a wind and then they run before they sit down. It bothered me for so many years. Anyone have figured it out yet? Today I figured it out. Thanks to him. So, thank you, you American. Huh? You walk like a breeze. What does it mean, walking like a breeze? You know what it means, to walk like a breeze? Hey, you Chinese people, explain to us. We're not Chinese. Huh? I'm not Chinese. Chinese people, what does it mean to walk like a breeze? It's a soft breeze in Chinese. It's a soft breeze, yes? And that means that the Chinese is very subtle. And this is what you have to give them. It's very subtle, unlike us Westerners. We like to be obvious, right? I wrote a Facebook post and people asked me, what do you mean? Why is it so ambiguous? I said, I couldn't say, it's on purpose, man. Because then it's ambiguous, then you can interpret at your own levels. If it's too clear, then it's only for one level, one class of people. Is it clear? If it's ambiguous, then many levels can have different interpretations, and they're still all right. Am I making sense to you? This is the theory of the Chinese culture, Chinese language versus ours. Ours, English in particular, we demand clarity. We demand precision. The Chinese, they don't, because of that reason. They can talk to many people at the same time. Is it clear? Okay. So anyway, but the Chinese says you walk like a breeze, because a breeze means that it means that you walk using barely enough energy to walk. And when you do that, Because if you're moving, you have a very soft breeze being created because of your walking. Right? If you walk too fast, then it becomes a stronger breeze. Is that clear? Okay, so that means that if it shows, the Chinese code is that shows your level of kung fu. Meaning if you're so good, you can walk like my teacher. He walks and is barely any air moving at all. I can't do that. I tell you that right now. I cannot do that. He can walk and barely any wind being created. That's how good he is. There's a code for that. There's a way to do that. Okay? And he can do it. That's what he meant by walking like a breeze. He does that. Okay? And no one notices. So he demonstrated that to them, I'm told, by one person. Who observes it, oh wow, that's how you're supposed to walk. I said, oh, okay, I never saw it. Anyway, but I trust this person higher level. Anyway, so you walk like a breeze, that meaning you conserve your energy. You walk, all of you walk, I know all of you. All of you. Me, you, okay. You don't walk like a breeze. You have to work on that. It takes skills to be able to walk like a breeze. Okay? Because you are using the minimal energy to move. That is Chan. Is it clear? You don't waste energy walking. Okay? You walk, and by doing that, you only generate such a slight breeze. That's real kung fu. That's why I watch people walk as instead of watching TV, I go to the temple and say, that's how they walk. Okay? So far so good? The Chinese is very, very subtle. Okay? So you walk like a breeze. It shows your level of samadhi, of skill. Right? And then he said something and finally caught my attention. He says, and then that's why you want to listen to these people. They've been around my Chinese teacher for so long, so they observe these things, so they're bound to say something interesting. Okay? So he says, at the end, then you run like crazy. You run very fast. And then you stop. And then it bothered me. I said, why would I walk like a breeze, which requires skills, and all of a sudden, I have to run very fast? It bothered me. The Chinese do that. Okay? For us, it's difficult to do because I don't want to be sued. So I kind of discouraged that. Okay? I started doing that, and then we like to keep it dark so that you can't really see the floor where you're running on. That's room for a lot of tripping and falling and hospital visits and eventually lawsuits. But the Chinese, they would walk like a breeze, and then they would run about 3 times around the area, okay? And then they stop, and they go back there, and they go back to their place and meditate. Why? And finally today, from listening to Master Heng Lai, I finally understood why. It sounds like it's contradictory. You walk like a breeze, and then you exert yourself. Okay? So it's 2 kinds of Chan practices. You walk like a breeze in order to stop your thoughts. Is that clear? You cannot walk like a breeze because your head is full of thoughts. Now you know. That's why I look at you and say, no, you can't walk like a breeze. No, she can't. No, she can't. Okay? Because your head has thoughts in there. You can't walk like a breeze like my master. He walks like a breeze because there's nothing up here. Totally empty. Airhead, if you will. Okay? But then, so it's a form of walking meditation that they're practicing. Very clever. I love it. Okay? But then they run. They run in order for you. It's not for them. What happens when you run? And you're supposed to run real fast, faster and faster and faster. Why? Because it helps you concentrate. You want to run faster, you have to concentrate, don't you? Ever seen a sprinter, 100-yard dash? Huh? They become like a machine. They concentrate on this motion, okay? And they relax. You cannot maintain this unless they relax. Okay? So they concentrate. Okay? So it requires them to go from one state of walking like a breeze to concentrating in order to run faster. That's the key word, faster. It requires more concentration. You run faster, you have to concentrate a little bit more, don't you? Okay? So now you have to, before you sit down, you concentrate and you increase the concentration and then you sit down and continue to concentrate. That's why. Very clever Chinese style. You heard it here at Way Mountain Temple, okay? We're not Chinese, but we comment about Chinese customs. That the Chinese no longer understand. Superior practice. It's beautiful. Can you see that? But no running. Don't sue me. Isn't that interesting? The Chinese is very subtle, very profound. So it's cool to learn from a Chinese. Okay? But remember, do not store old paper napkins in your pocket. Oh, please. Thank you. And we invite you all to go down and have some lunch. Thank you.